It's the Sports Peninsula podcast. Coming up, we're talking boxing again with Chops from the Original Sports Podcast, as there are 3 championship fights on the horizon, starting with the holiday weekend contest with Shakur Stevenson defending his WBC Lightweight Championship against Artem Harutyunyan in Shakur's hometown of Newark, New Jersey, at the Prudential Center. We'll also look at 2 title fights on July 13th as Jaron Boots Ennis defends his IBF Welterweight Title against David Avanesyan in Boots' hometown of Philadelphia. We'll also discuss the Middleweight Title unified clash with Janibek Alimkhanuly who's the IBF title holder, taking on Andrei, Mikhailovich, who's the WBO champion in Las Vegas. Now, here is your Sports Peninsula team. Welcome, everybody, to the Sports Peninsula podcast. My name is David Drew. It's July 5th, Friday, fresh off the 4th of July, and I'm joined by Chops from the Original Sports Podcast. And Chops, how was your 4th?
Man, it was great. It was great. I'm here at my cousin's in Louisiana, and I'm from Atlanta. I'm from Georgia, but this Louisiana heat is different. It really is. So he said he wanted to go out for dinner or something last night to eat, and I was like, we were talking on the 3rd. He said, we'll just go out. It's too hot. I'm not barbecuing. When I went to bed the 3rd, I was like, okay, cool. I get it. Woke up yesterday morning on the 4th, and it's 7:15, whatever have you. I was like, you know what? I ended up going to Kroger. It's just not 4th of July without barbecue, man. I ain't gonna lie. It was a scorcher. It was ridiculous, but it was worth it, man. I had to barbecue, but it was a good day, man. A good day with family, just hanging out by the pool, a couple cocktails. It was a great day.
That's awesome, man. We did ribs actually last week. So we did burgers this week for 4th.
And my cousin, he had done ribs over the weekend. He had done whatever have you. And he's like, man, I just did ribs. He said, actually, I might even have 1 or 2 bones in the refrigerator. So it was left over. Mm-hmm. So I was like, all right, well, maybe we'll just throw some steaks on the grill, some brats. Then I woke up again and I was like, well, in this one, he was like, well, I'm not doing it. I said, all right. I said, well, again, the day before, I can do brats on the grill. That's quick, fast. But as soon as I got in there, man, I said, I can't have 4th of July without ribs. Because growing up as a kid, it was always on everybody's grill in town. So I had to, man. Yeah. It was a good time though, man.
All right. Well, it's Independence Day has passed, and now we're looking forward to July 6th, which is tomorrow as of this recording. And we're looking forward to a pretty good fight here. Shakur Stevenson gets back in the ring, taking on Artem Harutyunyan, who's 12-1. And this is obviously for the WBC title that Stevenson has, the lightweight title. And Chops, what are you looking for in this one at face value?
Jeez. Honestly, and I know it sounds some excitement because Stevenson's last fight, he caught some boos. And he's been labeled before a boring fighter. He says that's why a lot of the big names avoid him. The other big names will say you're a boring fighter, you're not the draw, you're not the money. I don't know what it is. You can look at it either way, but yeah. I want to see action. I want to see action. I know you think, well, it's a boxing match. There's going to be not always. So that's what I'm looking for. Who's going to bring it?
Yeah, and I think that's the big question coming in this fight. Which version of Shakur Stevenson are we going to see? The aggressive version, who takes it to the opponent, or the maybe the one that's going to backpedal a little bit and dance a bit and put on a boxing clinic? He's 21-0 for a reason. But yeah, I agree. I think that's the question on a lot of people's minds. Taking a look at the tail of the tape, in essence here, there is a 6-year age advantage for Stevenson. Harutyunyan's 6 years older, an inch taller. Didn't have the final reach yet. We don't have the final measurables as of the recording. But Stevenson's the southpaw against the orthodox Harutyunyan. But again, only 12 fights, or only 13 fights for Harutyunyan, and one loss. And that loss was his last fight, and it's against a familiar name, Chops, and that's Frank Martin, who we just saw Tank knock out a few weeks ago. Stevenson's record's clean, 21-0. Knockout percentage not the greatest, 48%, but nonetheless he's taking care of business. I'm going to jump ahead here just to their notable fights, and what I wanted to point out, Chops, is the one notable fight that Harutyunyan's had was his last one against Frank Martin that he lost by decision. It was his first fight outside of Germany, so This is a guy who's 33, only going in his 14th pro fight, just now coming over to the States. What are your thoughts on Harutyunyan's resume?
Well, again, which I never really paid attention when we were younger, maybe the Andrew Galatas, Francois Bothwas, other fighters, what have you. But I'm realizing a lot of these fighters from overseas in other countries, like Usyk, and a lot of these cats are up in age. Even Loma were up in age and didn't have a whole lot of fights. However, Usyk and Loma at their ages and at 12, 13, 14 fights had better names on their resume than Harutyunyan does. So I've noticed that, right? So I didn't put a whole lot of stock into that. And I don't know, to me, it's like maybe he just wasn't into boxing. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. When I'm looking at notable records and notable fights, Sensei Sao sticks out for me, of course, for Stevenson. Good win. And then he lost to Frank Martin, did Harutyunyan. And going through up until what was that, like 7 or 8 rounds, he was there. I know one card had Martin down or him up ahead of Martin, but again, Martin, I think, ended up getting a knockdown late in the fight, which ended up sealing it for him. But again, he isn't Harutyunyan, isn't an aggressive fighter. He was a nice counterpuncher.
Mm-hmm.
Stevenson, same way, he can outbox you from the outside, but he's not really going to knock you out and beat you up. However, what I am interested in seeing, since he, as in Stevenson, didn't look great in his last fight, will he come out and try to put the foot on the pedal to show everybody? Tank just had an awesome knockout. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Timo, to me, in his last fight, he won and he dominated, but he hit the guy with almost, what would I send that to you? Almost 300 or well over 200 power punches.
Yeah.
And the guy looked like he was in a sparring match. Timo was more bruising. So I don't think Timo's ready to move up. So Timo could still be a decent, fight for Stevenson. So this is, I'm interested to see how this goes, and I want to see what corners work their fighter the best and game plan is implemented.
That's a great point. So in focusing on Stevenson, one thing I noticed, Chops, and I in scouting this fight, I watched the entire Frank Martin Harutyunyan fight, and you're spot on. Harutyunyan was winning on the I believe it was Showtime that did the fight. I'm not sure. I watched a lot of fights this week, but
yeah,
their unofficial card had Harutyunyan up by, I think, 109 to 106 at one point. But those championship rounds is where the tide turned. Martin found another gear in round 10, and he put a lot of pressure on him in 10 and 11. And then he got the knockdown in the 12th round. So you're talking about a 4-point swing right there just in those last 3 rounds. So, but again, and we're talking about a Frank Martin who looked solid for 5 rounds against Tank, but then the lights went out.
Yeah.
And it's just, and one thing I noticed about Harutyunyan, which plays into Stevenson's keys to victory here. Stevenson is very adept at knocking away that pawing rangefinder jab, and he's able to quickly counter with a jab cross combination. It's very effective. It scores. You can almost score at will with it against an opponent like that. Well, guess what Harutyunyan's jab is? It's that pawing rangefinder jab. So he's playing right into his wheelhouse in essence. Speed kills. Stevenson's far more he's quicker, he's faster. Harutyunyan's going to have a hard time finding him. And I'm not saying Stevenson's going to have to run in this fight, but just his sheer quickness. Harutyunyan's not super quick. And another thing too, Harutyunyan looks a little bit susceptible to the body. I think that's where Martin started finding, and that's where I got the knot. Then he started finding the body. And that's what Stevenson does very well. Is he's very good at finding the body, and that's what could set up a knockout in this fight, in my view. Now, what I found interesting, Chad, I want to hear your take on this. This is a fight we're so used to so much. Let's call it what is shit talk between fighters. These two are very respectful of each other. They've been actually joking with each other. Although Shakur has pointed out, he's like, "You're trying to butter me up. It ain't gonna work. I know you're gonna be ready." But they've been very cool. It's been, in my mind, kind of refreshing because, like, I know that professional players are going to go at it, but I was curious what your thoughts were on their demeanor.
Well, I understand it's their job. So I don't need to see all that cursing and throwing things at each other. If that's what you need to get you hype, then you need to find a new profession in my line, because this is how you pay your bills, how you feed your family, and somebody's trying to punch you in the face. You know what I mean? So you should get up. So I like the fact that they are able to be civilized and be gentlemen. You know, pugilists, they because pugilist, a gentleman, you know what I mean, and they would conduct themselves when it first started with honor and the way they carried themselves. And I like the fact where guy can walk in, wear a suit, 3-piece suit, look like a big time businessman, but when you turn that switch, he puts on those gloves and he becomes a beast. I like the fact where you're a tough guy. You're tough. You don't need to act it all the time. You don't need to act it all the time. So I like the fact they're cordial with each other. Now, I do not like once guys get in the ring and they're still laughing and joking. No, no, no. If you're embarrassing somebody and you do a wiggle or you do the ollie shuffle, okay, it is what it is. But you're not laughing and joking in the ring. And I just saw that in a fight. It was an MMA fight, but guys were laughing and joking in the ring. And even the announcer time was like, I'd punch him in the face if you don't, you know what I mean? So I'm cool with them being cordial at the press conference. I'm ready for the leather to start flying. You know what I mean? I'm ready. That's my thing.
Well, ask Mr. Vargas when he was fighting Mayweather what that's like. That
Ooh.
People were down on Mayweather. I'm like, that was beautiful. He did exactly what he should have did. He ain't your friend. Ain't your guy.
Exactly. Now, but here's also my thing. If you noticed, Shakur, I'd like to say his name is big in the boxing world. I like to think it is.
It is.
But Tank fighting Frank Martin, to me, Frank Martin and his name wasn't a whole lot bigger than Harutyunyan to me. You know what I'm saying? But Tank fighting is getting way much more press than Shakur fighting, which shocks me. Excuse me. That shocked me. I really thought his name would give more. Now again, I don't know if because the way Tank acts at press conferences, but Tank knocks people out. Tank knocks people out, so that people definitely want to see that. But I was surprised his name, as in Shakur, wasn't getting as much build up for this fight, and we're a day, 24 hours away. It's crazy to me on that.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head. It's how Tank hypes his fights and his social media influence, and then too, he's a knockout artist, and he's a legit knockout artist.
Yeah.
I would admit, I mean, if you ask me right now if those two fight, I wouldn't even blink an eye. I'd say Tank's gonna win the fight. No one has an answer for his power in that weight class at this point. There's guys that can fight with him. I have no doubt about that, and maybe they can wear him down. But he's super dangerous. He's just super dangerous.
And that's the problem. If you were to talk, not that we jump ahead, we don't know if we'll ever see that. Hopefully, they'll fight someday, Tank and Shakur. The reason why I think everybody would go with Shakur right now, or excuse me, Tank right now, because from round 1 through the end of round, you know what I mean? As long as there's time left, you know he can hit you and knock you out. Shakur doesn't bring that. Shakur, you know, he doesn't have a whole lot of power punch. He's going to have punches and bunches and accumulation of punches. So, and I think that's why. And everybody in that weight class has to worry about it. They have to worry about it. You know what, though? But now, and it's kind of weird to me that Shakur isn't getting love. Because even Bud Crawford, even people like us who were deep into the game, we knew Bud knocks people out and Bud will go to distance, whatever. Bud can do either or. But we knew Bud was getting, you know, cats were ducking him.
Oh yeah.
Shakur's claiming people were ducking him. They're saying you're not a big draw, you're not worth it. I don't know who I want to believe, but now he's not fighting a large name, and we're not really. I mean, there's not a whole lot of fanfare on this fight either. So maybe he's not the draw that people think he is. I don't know, man. I don't know.
You're onto it. I mean, Bud Crawford and Triple G come to mind right away. But what happened?
He knocks people out. He's a small guy, but he knocks them out.
That's the thing. I liken it. I'll take another sport and compare it. The University of Michigan football team, national champions, right? Well, they were much maligned for the whole season, aside from the Harbaugh situation.
Yeah.
who'd they play? Okay, I'll give you that. But here's the thing: when they played like a max squad, I don't remember who they were playing on off the top of my head, but they were beating teams so badly that by the middle of the third quarter,
backups were,
and all the backups were in. McCarthy was sitting and coming. So it's like, yeah, they didn't play a top-notch team, but they took care of business exactly the way you thought they should.
They should. Yeah, it wasn't close. It wasn't close.
And then when they played the big hitters, they won those games.
So
exactly. Same thing with Bud and Triple G. They were fighting, whoever would step in front of them, which wasn't the top tier guys, but they were annihilating them. So that's what Stevenson hasn't really done. He does not have that power.
You know what else I was thinking about? Mm-hmm. You may know, you may not know, I don't know. Do you know the last guy to beat Stevenson?
It was in the amateurs, wasn't it?
In the Olympics. Robeson. Okay.
Yeah.
He fought the other night on ESPN, right? And he walked through his guy, it was what it was. But that would also be something to me. Two young up-and-coming fighters. Why hasn't, and I say young, Shakur's young. Mm-hmm. Robeson, he's in his 30s, so he's not as young. Why Shakur hasn't went after him? Even if you want to make this a revenge fight or something to draw, he just, and I'm thinking, Shakur, my man, buddy, you've got all the talent in the world. For whatever reason, that boxing minds smarter than mine, better than mine, aren't buying into you. I don't know, but you have to do something to get people to start buying tickets to your fights. You know what I mean? So, man,
I'll be honest. I understand it because you just know how we as a society, how we at least in this country, how we perceive athletes. And I understand why Tank's more popular than Stevens. I understand why Haney's more popular than Crawford. But at the same time, as a boxing fan, I very much appreciate Stevenson's skill set. He's at a tremendous skill set. He doesn't have the power you'd like, but I have not seen anybody really hurt him.
You're absolutely right. But here's my thing. Mm-hmm. What he can bring to the game, what he brings to the game, I'm not saying he's Ali. I'm not saying he's Sugar Ray Leonard. But he has hands. He moves. He's hard to hit. He's quick. I would think boxing would want to showcase that. Because a lot of people still think all boxing is and MMA is just a barbaric sport. Two guys punch each other. And it's not. It's a science. Yeah. So I would think that boxing would like to hold him up and show him, yo, this is what other guys do. And I hate to say this, but to me, his skill set is better than ESPN Plus. It just really is. He could be. Now, I love the fact that ESPN is putting these Tiafimos, his fights. Lomo's even fought on ESPN. So I love the fact that they do that. I love it. But I also think Shakur should be starting to look 21-0. Did well in the Olympics, I think he should be looking for pay-per-views, but he's not a headliner yet. And his skill set is, but he's not a headliner as a draw. And I don't know why.
I'm puzzled, but I think the only thing that comes to mind truly is that he's not winning with flair, and he's not as demonstrative and loud. I mean, even like, I don't. There's those other fighters that are very loud and demonstrative on social media, and they get a ton of attention.
Yeah.
Even if it's negative, that's what they're trying to get, and he's not clamoring for that. I respect that, but it is hurting him professionally, I think.
If you're a Lomo, you get in there and bang, you knock people out. You can be that way. If you want to knock it, you can be that way. But when you're a skilled fighter, you don't have exciting fights. They're going the distance. You're not beating people up. You got to do something to sell your brand. You have to do something to sell your brand. So we'll see, man. But Harutyunyan to me has been like a counterpuncher almost. He's been almost a counterpuncher. Yeah. So he can't be a counterpuncher against Stevenson. He didn't have the speed. He doesn't have the speed. So he needs to take it to Shakur. But because if he doesn't, Shakur is going to stand on the outside all night, and we might end up getting some boos. And I really don't want that. I don't want that for Shakur because he has a skill set that people need to see, but he has to sell himself.
Yeah, I think you hit it. To me, the Stevenson we need to see tomorrow on the 6th is an aggressive, all business Shakur Stevenson.
Yeah.
This needs to be a statement fight, not in the sense that he's beating somebody that's top tier, but Harutyunyan's a good fighter, a very solid fighter, and it's going to be on ESPN Plus, so people are going to see it. He needs to make have a statement win that he's ready to step up to the next level, which I think he's at skill wise, and I think you agree too. But it'll hopefully get public notice.
Do you, when you say a statement win, if he gets a unanimous decision, what kind of statement win do you, because the name to me, Harutyunyan's not a statement win.
No.
So he needs a statement performance.
That's a good one.
So let me ask you this, in your opinion,
mm-hmm.
would he wins hands down first 3-4 rounds, gets a knockout in the 5th. Is that good enough where he, you know what I'm saying? Would that be it? Or he's been the better fighter for first 7-8 rounds, and an accumulation of punches, he gets a finish in the 9th. What would he I think we can both agree he needs a finish. He needs a finish. He needs a finish. Yeah. Or it needs to be so one lopsided, because he can't afford a war. It can't be close to me.
Yeah. I'm going to be honest with you. Even a lopsided UD victory would continue to amplify the question mark is, can he knock an opponent out? So I believe he needs to knock Harutyunyan out or get a TKO, a stoppage, like you said. I'm saying 6th round, Chops. I think he's gonna step up. I'm trusting Shakur Stevenson's gonna fight this fight the way he needs to fight it, which is aggressively and take charge and to overwhelm Harutyunyan. I don't believe Harutyunyan can hurt him. And he's gonna try to hurt him to the body, because that's kind of his MO. But at the end of the day, I believe I'm wanting Stevenson to win by TKO in round 6, because to me that's the statement performance. He needs to beat Harutyunyan soundly, and that will get some attention, in my view.
Yeah. Okay. I was thinking 6 or 7. He needs to finish him by 6 or 7. So since you took 6, I'm going to go with the over. But
I would trust you, by the way, too.
Even if but here's the thing, brother. He has to be dominant. If by the end of the 8th, 9th round, if it goes that far, by the time he ends it, if Harutyunyan has won a round, okay, championship fight, you should win a round. I get that. But Shakur has to dominate this fight. There can leave no doubt. He has to reach up. Because here's my thing. If you can't take Harutyunyan out and do it impressively, people are going to think the same thing is going to happen to you that happened to Frank. You know what I'm saying? So he won't even get that fight, So to me, I'm going Stevenson. I'm going to go 8 again. I'm going to go 8, and I'm hoping rounds 1 through 7 are nasty. I'm hoping he's landing those body shots. I'm hoping he's hitting and sticking that nice solid left. I'm hoping. I'm really hoping, because he can't stay on the outside and I don't want to say run, but he can't stay on the outside and move and use the entire ring. He can't just look to win. He needs to look to win in impressive fashion. For me.
I mean, win's a win. But let's face it, we're talking about perception here.
Yeah,
that's what we're really talking about. Sellability. How can we get pay-per-view sales from this guy? He's got to show them I can do something exciting. Because if he can't hurt Harutyunyan, how is he going to hurt a Haney or a Tang?
I know.
Or anybody like that. And it's not going to. No.
Yeah, exactly. And here's my thing. Let me clarify, because you did say a win is a win, and that's correct. But when I said for me, I need him to win in spectacular, because I respect his skills. I respect his skills. I just don't think he's getting, because in the same token, he fought Frank, he fought Garcia. Tank is trying to get out there. Shakur and Tank's names are not on the same level. They can fight in the same weight class, but not on the same level. They don't hold the same draw. I want people to be able to see Stevenson. I want them to see his skill set. So for me, to believe that he'll start to get to see that, he's got to win it in spectacular fashion. He has to. He's got to. And I think if he wins in spectacular fashion, this is ESPN. There's a lot of eyes on ESPN. So this can truly help everybody else see what we already know. You know what I mean? So he needs that. I'm going Stevenson in 8, knockout, impressive fashion. I keep an eye on this. If he gets that knockout, if he gets this knockout, let's see how excited and hype he gets after the win. After the win.
Yeah.
You saw your boy Tank, he does his flip. I want to see if Shakur loses his mind, screams, beats his chest. He's gonna have to. He needs this win. In impressive fashion, needs it.
Yeah, he does. I don't think he's going. I think he's going to hurt Harutyunyan. I think it's going to be a like I said, TKO in the 6th. I think he's going to overwhelm him. He's gonna hurt him and stun him, and he's just going to overwhelm him. I don't think he's going to put him on the canvas and get the KO, but I think he's going to overwhelm him. And I think there's going to be the ref will stop it. That's just how I'm seeing it.
I got you. So you have him stopping it more because he's just not able to defend himself against the much faster fighter. It's not that he's hurt like Tank would hurt him. I got you. And I can see that. I can definitely see that. You're absolutely right. It could be an accumulation of punches to where he can't get off the canvas in the 6th, 7th, or 8th, but it's not going to be 1 or 2 punches that do him like Tank. So I got you. But it definitely will be accumulation.
If he was able to get a 1 or 2 punch KO, I'd be like, whoa, we found something.
Man, here's the crazy part. They say speed is power, and he has the speed and the accuracy. So at his level, you'd have to say it's possible. It's not going to be every day. It's not going to be every fight, but it'd be possible. I highly doubt it, but I'm gonna go with Tank. I'm gonna go with Shakur. And like I said, I'm looking about 8th, 9th round TKO stoppage. I just don't see it. Power. I don't see Harutyunyan laying out on the mat. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I agree with you.
We'll see how that goes. So I'm interested in that one this weekend.
Well, now then we got a couple fights a week from Saturday on the July 13th. And the first one, love Boots Ennis. Jaron Boots Ennis taking on David Avanesyan for the IBF World Welterweight Title. And that's going to be in Philly, where Boots is from. So and you got the 31-0 Boots taking on the 34-1 Avanesyan. Chops, got the tail of the tape up here right now. Height advantage to Boots by a couple inches, significant reach advantage. And I was surprised by this 5.5-inch reach advantage. They're both orthodox fighters. Avanesyan, decent KO percentage, 18 out of his 30 wins. But look at Boots, 28 KOs, 31 wins. Very impressive. Now, at the same time, we'll look at the resumes here right now, at least the last 4 or 5 fights here. Notable fights for Boots. And I think Boots is another guy, 31-0. I don't think there's a lot of people really enthusiastic about risking their status or titles against Boots.
No. And his record, to me, his skill set is better than because those notable names, to me, you got to be in the game to know those names. You know what I mean? So, but also look at it. When you're going Terrence Crawford, or he fought, you know what I'm saying? But he lost. Yeah, Avanesyan, he lost. Josh Kelly, what was that, back in 2021? Shane Mosley, that's damn near a decade ago. It might not have been in 2020 or 2014, but it was years and years ago. It was like one of Shane's last fights.
Yeah.
So it's rough because Avanesyan he has power. I'll give him that. He's not a power knockout fighter, but he has some power. He doesn't have Boots' skill set. You know what I mean? And it's been well over a year, and I understand that's common for a lot of fighters now. But it's been well over a year since his last fight. You know what I'm saying? Avanesyan. So I'm interested, and he's, is he 34, 35? I think his birthday is coming up here in August. So I think in a month or so. Okay, so he'll be 36 in August. So he's a 36-year-old fighter. So again, we got a guy, you know what I mean, who doesn't have youth is not on his side, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? And he hasn't fought in a year. Now, again, I don't know if he had injuries, come back from injury, or what, couldn't find any takers. I don't know. But to me, of course, he's going to have a puncher's chance. He's got some power in those hands. But with his toolbox, I just don't think he has enough to beat Ennis. I don't.
Boots Ennis right now, in my personal opinion, is the most economical and technically sound fighter in the game right now. The man, every punch has a purpose, and most of them land, and most of them hit exactly where he's intending to hit. He's just so accurate. I don't have the concubine stats in front of me. I'm going by the eye test. The man throws with purpose, and he's always, like I say, he's economical, he's efficient. There's no wasted energy, but everything counts. And he's so impressive to me. I'm as impressed with Boots as I was with Triple G 10 years ago when I first started really watching him, when he was fighting seemed like every other month on HBO. It's the same type of performances, man, just workmanlike. And Avanesyan, now I did watch quite a few of his fights, actually. I watched the Terrence Crawford fight in particular. I wanted to see how he fought, a very skilled fighter. He is a very unorthodox fighter. It says he's orthodox,
but no,
unorthodox. The man, he has an orthodox stance, but he often fights straight up. He leads with his face.
Yes.
Which is which typically the knock on a southpaw fighter. They tend to do that. He almost fights like an old school southpaw fighter, but he's really orthodox. It's strange. So he's awkward. That probably might. I think that's going to make this fight go at least 2 or 3 rounds, because there may be some figuring out that Boots will have to do early on. He's a quick study. I've noticed that about him, definitely. I think Avanesyan's best punch, though, is an overhand right. He tends to take he'll take a lunging left jab, or almost like a pseudo left cross, but then he'll follow up with an overhand right. That kind of comes out of nowhere. So that's the one punch I think that if he's got a puncher's chance, that's going to be it. But Bud found the body on him often, early and often. And he fought in a phone booth with Bud, which, didn't work out. But he really kind of fought like a mixture. He's, like I say, he's very awkward, Chops. I don't know how to describe his style, but he switches constantly. Now Boots can do that too. But I don't think Boots needs to mess around in this fight. I mean, he needs to. I really don't. I don't think he needs to. He just needs to do his thing in this one. But I don't know what your thoughts are. But that's what I saw out of Avanesyan.
Yeah. Now it's hard. I hate to say hard. It may be not fair to judge him, because I was doing the same thing. I said, but that's Crawford. You know what I mean? That's Crawford. Now, and I'm going back, and then I thought, well, it was so many years ago against Shane, because he does lead with his face. But a skillful and a faster boxer will find that. You want to lead with your face, I'm going to make you pay. Yeah. Shane was retiring. You know what I mean? Shane was retiring. Boots is not retiring. He still has his speed. So I'm interested to see how, and I don't care how much sparring you've done in camp. That's not live, not Boost Ennis live. You know what I mean? So I'm interested to see if he still has that stance. And I used to call it that European stance, where they're almost robotic or stand up, whatever have you.
Yeah.
So, and you're right, that lunging left with the overhand right. I want to see if Boots can adjust to that, which you would think that he can. And he may see it coming. And I say he'll see it coming. He's got age on his side. You know what I mean? So, again, Avanesyan's fought some big guys. He's been big names. He's been in the ring. He has experience. But I just don't think he's ready for Ennis. I don't see a way he beats Ennis. He's got that puncher's chance. He's got that, but that's what it's going to have to be. Go back to that first left. That first left that stumbled. No, I think it was a right in the second round that Drew Haney that stumbled him. Didn't knock him down, but stumbled him. He didn't see that. If Boots gets hit with that, it's going to be something he doesn't see. You know what I'm saying? Now, again, if you hit him with that and you don't take him out, I think he'll make the adjustments where Haney never did. Now, you can say, I understand. You Garcia was on the PEDs. I get that, so on and so forth. But Haney never adjusted to that left.
No.
So I think, yes, he has that overhand punch, which is nice. But I'm interested to see how Boots Ennis adjust to all this, because that Crowley would have been nice. That what we were supposed to see, but we got this. But like I said, he hasn't fought in well over a year, so there's a lot of things I'm looking for, man, that I could get into hours just talking about what I'm looking to see on this fight. But I'm still going to go Boots.
Oh yeah. I would be shocked if it went past the 6th round. I don't see that happening. I'm not going to call the round, but yeah, he'll win this fight. But like I said, I marvel at how technically sound he is and how strong he is. It's impressive. Keyshawn Davis, another guy I really like. I don't put him on the same level, but they're similar styles. I like efficiency. And being busy, but never punching yourself tired, but always being effective. It's a beautiful thing.
Man. Absolutely. And he's going to sit there and he's going to be able to be hit because he's going to want to fight in a box, and as he can move this, that, whatever, but he doesn't dance more than he has to. He's not going to run. Like I said, he's economical. He's going to be there. He's going to be there. He's got a nice defense. I just don't see Avanesyan. I can't see it. And I don't mean to disrespect the man, because he puts the time in the craft. He puts time in the gym. He does the road work. I just don't see him having the toolbox big enough to do. I just don't, man.
No, not at all. I think he could score. He might, and like you said, he might catch Boots a little bit. I don't think he's going to hurt him significantly, but he may get a little stunner quickly, but he'll adjust. He's just that good. Let's talk about the other fight on the 13th as well, and this one's in Vegas. That the Boots fights in Philly, where Boots
Philly from.
Yep, absolutely. But now we've got Janibek Alimkhanuly against Andrei Mikhailovich, and this is for it's a unification of the Middleweight Championship. The IBF with Janibek, and then Mikhailovich with the WBO. Your thoughts on this one, Chops? Because these guys, they're not household names, but pretty impressive records. Alimkhanuly is 31. He's 15. He has 15 wins, no losses, 10 KOs. He is a southpaw, 6 foot. They're both the same height, but he's 5 years older than Mikhailovich. But Mikhailovich has a bit of a reach advantage, and he's orthodox. So we've got a contrast in styles. And I've already seen highlights of Alimkhanuly getting headbutt in fights. So actually, Mikhailovich too, when he fought a southpaw, one of the fights I scouted for him. But he's real impressive. 21-0. Mikhailovich is with 13 knockouts. This is a interesting fight here. I'm going to go to their notable fights, and the resumes aren't star-studded. I'll grant you that. But your thoughts on this one, Chops?
The crazy part is, this is Mikhailovich's first fight in Vegas, in the States, and you go to Vegas first, and you're in Vegas first. I understand it's not a big time pay-per-view where he's fighting under where it's going to be huge lights, but it's going to be different from whatever he's ever seen. He does have speed, young kid. He does have some power, not as much power as you would think, because he likes to throw some heavy blows.
Yeah,
but I'll be honest with you, man. Janibek is just a monster. He's going to get hit. Mikhailovich is going to hit. He's going to get his. He will get his licks in. But I'm still going with Janibek. I really am. I don't see this going. I definitely don't see this one going the distance. But if it does, there is going to be blood. Somebody's getting beat up. This one, there's going to be leather thrown in this one.
Now, I'll admit, I've scouted this fight, but I don't know either that well. Like I would say, I know a Boots or Stevenson. Yeah. At the same time, I can see your scenario playing out. I've got to go in the distance in this, and watching the way they both kind of studying their styles. Now Alimkhanuly, he likes to keep his lead right low. So he's going to be prone to that jab. Mikhailovich likes to throw, and he throws a nice stout jab. And that I see as a problem where he could get outscored significantly if he doesn't change his defensive strategy in this fight. He's got a wide stance. He's prone to counter short rights in a phone booth. I noticed that. But his lead right hook is a very nice punch. Janibek's got a nice lead right hook, and he throws a nice straight left cross. So he sets up that left cross with that right hook, and that's a damaging combination. Those are two. Yeah. That's a power combination there for folks that don't know, and that's a tough one. Now with Mikhailovich, he's quick. again, he keeps a low guard too. But he's a hard puncher. Like I said, he throws like that Kronk jab.
Yeah.
Not the double jab, but it's a jab with purpose. And he likes to stay at a distance. So it's a contrast in styles, which I really like. That lead left jab is a definite big weapon. It sets up his whole offense. So
yeah,
it's a contrast in styles without
It is. But here's the thing though. Mikhailovich, he'll go to that body. He'll go to that body. Yeah. And you've seen, regardless of who the names are, Janibek has some early round knockouts. Mikhailovich has some KOs on his side too. So I don't think it'll go to distance. But if it does, it's going to be a slobber knocker, as the old guys used to say. Seriously, man, this leather's going to fly. I'm still going to go with Janibek. I do like Mikhailovich's jab, and I like the way he digs the body. And he throws, like I said, he throws with purpose. But I'm still going with Janibek, man. And I'm going to take I'm going 6. I don't think it's going to distance. I'm going to go Janibek in 6.
We don't normally disagree that dramatically.
But I know.
And you called the tank fight and you called the round.
Man, let me ask you this though. Now that do you think it would be the name where it's not Shakur Tank, it's not, the big names, but do you think a nice fight that could be fight of the year, candidate for fight of the year, if it would go to this distance, if we could get any one of those from any 3 of these fights, do you think that any of those would help boxing? And I only say that because, man, some of those fights, when we were going back in the day, some of those fights, fight of the year, round of the year, you know what I mean? Not just a tomato can in there and the guy gets knocked out second round and wasn't worth it. But if you have 2 great rounds, they'll talk about it for years. Hearns Hagler, 3 great, you know what I'm saying? So how do you think? What do you think?
Well, yeah, Hearns Hagler is one of the perhaps the most exciting fight ever.
Yeah.
And it was only 3 rounds, but amazing fight. But 2 champions, 2 Hall of Famers, the 2 Kings. When I think of that kind of fight, I think of Hagler Mugabe, John the Beast Mugabe. That was a great fight. And Hagler had to dig real deep. And he won by KO, or TKO, but it was big.
James Toney, Michael Nunn. Remember when that was it? Yeah, that was good. Because when they're on ESPN Plus, I think great fights that are gritty, they're not one-sided, they're not lopsided. Both guys are laying on the line, put dying on their shield, so to speak. I think that could really help in boxing because you're trying to get the casual fan, because guys like us are going to watch regardless.
Exactly.
They're going to watch regardless. You know what I mean? And I think that's why they're trying to put Lomo before it was on ESPN, Teofimo on ESPN, Shakur. So they're paying for these names. So I think they'd love to have a showing. Now, to me, even Timo, he dominated last week. I don't think he did much for his reputation. If anything, he realized he's not ready for 147 yet because he could knock that guy out. He got hit. You saw his face. And he's nowhere near on the level of some of these other cats. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, Lopez is kind of an enigma to me because he teases you with greatness, and yet then you'll see, like we saw last week, he fought very well, but not quite what he needed to be for the next level.
Yeah.
We've seen him, we saw him lose a fight he shouldn't. We saw him win a fight we didn't think he could.
Yeah, true. That's true. That is true. But it does question me on this. Do you wonder why he never gave Lomo a rematch?
I could take a real quick guess at it because he's probably, it's a 50-50 shot whether he would come out of that one clean.
I don't even know if it's a 50-50 because he realizes Lomo gave me the first good 3, 4, 5 rounds. He gave them away.
Yeah.
Gave them away. And you can still make the argument Lomo might have won that fight, whatever have you. And that's it. That to me is it. You knew there were doubters. You knew there were naysayers. And you didn't go back and prove that I beat that guy. That's always why not? Because we have seen guys come into it and dominate. Like, not trying to be funny. Do we want to see White and Tank again? Not unless it's for another good year or two where Frank White just steps up and he has some knockout. You know what I mean? But right now, You've seen that, Frank. Yeah, you've seen that, Frank Martin. I don't know why I keep saying Frank. Wait, Frank Martin. You've seen that. You know how that's going to end. Lomo didn't walk away with, yeah, I put it in perspective. Everybody knows I'm better than Lomo. That's not how Timo walked away. But I don't understand why he didn't go back and get that rematch. I just don't understand why.
Yeah, because I mean the sands of the hourglass are slowly fading for Loma. I mean that ship's gonna sail quick if you want it.
Yes.
I don't know. I mean I think there's Loma's got a different plan too. Not sure where that's going to lead, but we've been hearing some things. What do you think with Loma? What do you think?
Well, now I don't think Loma would want to fight. The money's not there. I think because I don't think Timo draws that money. Lomo's still going to draw money to me, and from my bang buck, I'm still going to a Lomo fight before a Lopez fight. So if I'm Timo, it's like I want that, and I should have taken it then because Lomo was hot. He like Ali said, he shook up the world. When he beat Lomo, he shook up the world in the division. He was no harder at that point to me as in Lopez. His name wasn't. Now, I think just the money he could have demanded in a rematch would have been huge because he's won in dominating fashion since then, but his name hasn't been as hot since then. You know what I mean? Lomo is still in there. Lomo versus Tank. Lomo versus Haney. Lomo just run it back. Lomo versus whomever. You still want that. You're not clamoring for Lopez like that. So if I'm Timo or if I'm Lomo, should I say? If I'm Lomachenko and I know time's running out, I'm going for big money fights. And Lopez, no disrespect, brother, you're still headlining ESPN, but I'm pay-per-view type cat. I'm you know what I mean? So that's I think if I'm Teofimo, I would have wanted my money back. Because let's not forget, after he beat Lomo, Teofimo's dad was in the crowd for Lomo's next fight when Lomo won, and he just left. He just left. You know what I mean? He didn't. I thought they were going to run it back, but he didn't. So, but I would, yeah, I would. I'd love to see on these. I'd like to see Shakur dominate in spectacular fashion for quite a few rounds. Get it up, let it be known, and maybe even not a war, but let him get hit, let him get rocked to be able to let him show people I can even take a punch. I can get in trouble and I can fight through it. I can dominate a guy who I'm significantly better than. And in this fight, Janibek and Mikhailovich, yo, fellas, your names aren't household names yet, but you're on ESPN. People didn't have to spend an arm and leg to get your fight. Make it worth it. You know what I mean? So
I tell you what, now that you the way you articulated that, I could see how the Janibek Mikhailovich fight could become that kind of fight.
Yes.
Like if it plays out like I'm saying, going the distance, it could be an absolute slugfest.
Ward Gotti, we knew them, but the way they put themselves on the map with everyone with those fights, you know what I mean? Because never really, they were never the Tanks as in their name like that. They were never Ollie. They were never whatever. But anybody who knew Mickey Ward or Gotti were fighting, it was going to be a war. And they did it three times. And that's what I think. And also, man, if you think about it, the fact that they're on ESPN is a great platform for ESPN to up boxing and these fighters to get their names out there. You know what I think? Okay, just hear me out. We don't talk much about female boxing on here and whatever. Just no disrespect, because just the names of the fights just aren't there. However, whether it's I'm a big MMA guy, and in MMA, female MMA, and in female boxing, I know this: there's no feeling out process. They come out and they realize our rounds are shorter. People don't know us. A lot of people are getting up. If you're not the main draw, a lot of people are getting up to go to a concession stand when women fight. So I do believe women's sports and combat sports and boxing and in MMA, when they have their moment to shine, they try to jump on it. They are throwing haymakers. We don't see that in a lot of men's boxing all the time. And I think that's what Janibek and Mikhailovich really need. I do. I think they need that.
Yeah, and being here from the Detroit area, like I am, Alicia Baumgartner and Clarissa Shields,
Yes.
they fought on a card. That's when Baumgartner beat Michaela Mayer,
Yeah.
and then Shields fought on the main event. It was co-main event. Fantastic fights. I think it was on DAZN, and it was awesome. And I'm like, that's the kind of card, that performance is what's going to get the casual fans watching it.
But see, also, they as in boxing need to, as men's and women's, men need to help promote women boxing more, because they do, man. I'm telling you what, they get at it and they go at it hard. When they ding that bell, women, there's no feeling out process for the women. They're going at it. And I think if you want to take a moment around, maybe two, in these men, take that to learn him. But after the third round on, fellas, you got to bring it, because you have a chance for eyes are on you.
Yeah.
You have a chance to get. It's not going to be maybe in tanks, however, in their different weight classes, however. But if now, you see Janibek, you see Mikhailovich, I'd like to see them fight him. I'd like to see him fight so-and-so. He's going to say, your boy. Like Jaime Munguia. I still can't believe his first title shot was what we just talked about with Canelo. But a lot of people knew him because he would throw heavy punches. You know what I mean? And he was an eye catcher. So I'm interested to see. I'm not hype because of the big names and get your popcorn ready. But I'm interested in the aspect to see what these guys do with their opportunity. That's what I'm really interested in.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting fight, and have two middleweight belts on the line too is huge.
Real quick, before we get out of here, of those three fights, I think I know which one you're going to pick. Which one do you want to see? Which one are you most looking forward to?
Ooh, I can answer in a lot of different ways. If I'm looking for this exciting fight, I'll be honest, it's the Janibek Mikhailovich fight. I know that. I believe that's going to be the best fight.
Okay.
I want to see. This is tough. I personally want to see Boots win impressively, because I believe he's one of the most dangerous guys in boxing right now. I just like him a lot. And I certainly am intrigued by Stevenson's fight, but it just doesn't, that particular fight, again, no disrespect to Harutyunyan, but it's just, that's not the name draw. I'm expecting Stevenson to win impressively. And if he doesn't, to me, he can't help himself in this fight as much as he can hurt himself. Boots, I think he can help himself a lot more with an impressive win in this fight to go 32-0 with his knockout percentage. He's got a quicker path in my mind to get to where he wants to be. But yeah, that Mikhailovich Janibek fight, man, that's gonna be something. If you're just looking for a pure great boxing match, I think that might be the one.
Wow. Okay, I'm not gonna lie to you. That totally threw me, because I just knew, because Boots is your guy, I just knew you were gonna go Boots. But then because of the way you answered, now it makes me thinking, okay, the best fight, you're right, could be just the way leather is thrown, Janibek and Mikhailovich. I get that. I definitely do like Boots, and I want to see Boots because he can do some things out there. Some other guys he want to fight, but I want Stevenson to look impressive because I want him to get the recognition I know he deserves.
He does,
man.
He really does. I got to touch on one subject before we close out. And I didn't want to make a focal point of this because it doesn't deserve it, but I think we need to talk about it. Ryan Garcia in the last few days. He took it to another level, and now he's not only been suspended by the boxing commission for a year for the steroid PED use, but now the WBC has banished him. And it's because he went on a tangent and put a lot of stuff on social media that was racially charged. And I was kind of shocked by it, to be honest with you, because I know he does a lot of different things, but this was another level here. He's alienating himself from nearly everybody. Your thoughts on this one?
I don't know, because here's the thing. He knew he was going to get popped for the PED. He knew it. I figure you take your punishment and travel on. That's why I remember when he said he was retiring, I said he's going to get his retirement, but it's not going to be much because he's going to serve a suspension anyway. So that's what I thought it was. But then he comes out with this. Now, here's the thing. Before his fight with Haney, we all thought he was going crazy. Because remember, I said, you can't let this man in the ring with Haney. Haney's going to hurt him. Well, he was crazy like a fox because he showed that he was just whatever have you. But now I don't think, as I'm looking at this, I think there was something to that. He was as crazy as we thought, because you figure he comes in what, 7 pounds over what he was crazy. He was heavy overweight.
He was three. Well, they weighed him at 3.25, 3.25.
Yeah, well over the weight.
Oh yeah,
and he's juicing, so he knew he was whatever have you. So maybe, and now this, I don't get it. I just don't get it. And I mean, after the fight. Meanwhile, he knows he's going to get popped for the PEDs, so he has to pay some of his purse for coming in overweight. He's going to have to suspend some for PEDs, and then after the fight, remember he's on the G5 steel shadow box. I'm the guy that you knew everything that was coming down the pipeline. So maybe he is crazy. Then he sends out this text. I don't know, man. I know you know him because he's from Davis, or excuse me, Herm Edwards, the football guy, Herm Edwards.
Yeah.
Herm Edwards always say, hey, young fellas, hey, young people, reread before you hit send. Reread it before you hit send. Have somebody else read it before you hit send. Nobody's doing that nowadays. Nobody is doing that nowadays. So I don't know, man. I don't know what's up with him. I really don't. And who's the last organization? Who's the last one to be banished?
I could not answer off the top of my head.
I know
what happened.
So here's my thing. If we've seen one guy in baseball, well, two now, but before it was only Pete Rose who would get a lifetime banishment in baseball, and they won't let him off fame, and he ain't never playing again, whatever have you. Now, at the time, he thought he'd have served a BS suspension and eventually get in the Hall of Fame. Seeing that I can't think of anybody off the top of my head who's ever been banished, I don't know. Will this truly stand? Will he have a chance in a year from now, 18 months, 2 years to reapply? I don't know how this works. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And
because he's still young, Drew. He's still young.
He's got a lot of work to do.
He still has talent. So you can't, if the other organizations accept him and he's a money draw, but there's somebody out there with the WC belt that he wants, what are you going to do? You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. I want to see how this works. And we don't have a measuring stick to say how it's going to work. I don't know. I don't know. What was your thoughts on it?
Wow. I'm disappointed the other three governing bodies didn't fall in line, and maybe they still will. I don't know. But to me, if you're truly going to make a statement against this kind of nonsense, and it's what's dividing this world, this kind of BS. It's got to stop. And it can't be the unsilent minority running their mouth and causing all kinds of unrest. Ryan Garcia's comments do not speak for the entire world or his, you know what I mean? It's just, it's an individual making an individual statement, and it's wrong. But it's got to be addressed swiftly, because there's freedom of speech. Yeah. Oh, you know what? There's freedom for rebuttal too. And it's not a one-way street. You can't do that. There's ramifications. There's accountability. And you mentioned Pete Rose. Pete Rose would probably been in the Hall of Fame 10 years ago, Chops, if he would have admitted what everybody and their mother already knows. He did it. Now, example too, before we end this, but as a Tigers fan, I was watching the Armando Galarraga perfect game almost. And saw just a terrible blown call before replay. Terrible miss at first base, loses the perfect game. Jim Joyce, he blew it, and he got called out. But I'll tell you what, the man owned up to it.
Dude, you could tell he was sick. You could tell he hated what he did. Yeah.
I'll say, after the next game, the home plate umpire Galarraga carries the lineup card to the plate, puts his arm around the guy. He's in tears. Jim Joyce, he knew it. But the man forgave him.
Yeah.
He asked for forgiveness. It's done. As a Tigers fan, there's very few Tigers fans that still, there's always idiots that are never going to say anything nice to anybody, right? Yeah. But most people are like, hey, he screwed up. We know it was a perfect game. Galarraga, I mean, it's unfortunate it happened, but it is what it is. He's not maligned, is my point. And he made this mistake. But it was an accident. He owned up to it. People, it's amazing what accountability will do. It's amazing.
It's fun that you mentioned Detroit, because if the NFL refs had done that when Dan Campbell just, dude, we blew the call. Don't try to tell us we're looking at something. We see what's going on. And I think, and I wish more people would do that. Just, dude, I blew it. I blew it. Because if we realize now in this society, take your lumps for a few weeks, you can rebound. You can rebound. We're supposedly America loves a great rebound story. You know what I mean? So on that aspect, take your lumps and get it on. But I don't understand why Garcia, you took your suspension, you took the loss, even though you got popped for PDs. Nobody was really drilling you. I mean, there were a few Devin Haney faithfuls. Oh yeah, you suck. That's why you won, bruh. He pounded Devin Haney. He did. He pounded Devin Haney, and maybe that's why Tank wanted that weight clause in there, because he knew if I don't and his guy blows back up, he's dangerous. I don't know. However, he should have just taken his. And even when he got the suspension, people were like, we knew you were dirty, but he still didn't get drugged through the mud. This is going to get him drugged through the mud. He's already banished. And I'm like, man, but I feel differently about you. I do feel it is free speech. And if you want to call me racial slurs, go ahead and call them. You're right. Number one, you have the right to say whatever you want to me. Be prepared how I'm going to come back at you. However, though, my thing is, I want to know where you stand. So if you're a closet racist, no, don't be a closet racist. To my face, wish me well. Behind my back, wish me hell. No. Let me know where you are and where you stand, so I can choose to either avoid you or go around you. You know what I'm saying? So I have no problem with people. Speak freely. Just be prepared at how people come back at you. You know what I mean? So if they wanted to, I wouldn't have banished him. Let it be known, he speaks solely for himself. He's an independent contractor. He's not a WBC employee, IBF. So this is what he said. We believe he's an idiot. So whoever wants to punch him in the mouth and smack him in the face when you get him in the ring, do your thing. That you know what I mean? Because to me, in a lot of ways, we as America have become so, those words hurt my feelings. Those words hurt my feelings. To me, I've always been, I don't care what you say. I do not care what you call me and what you say to me. Depends on the given day how I'm going to react. But always be prepared that if you say something, somebody does have the right to retaliate. But I don't know, man. I want to see, what does this banishment mean on the aspect of, can he reinstate 2, 3, 4 years? I don't know. That's what I'm interested in seeing. So what have you, because we found this just before we started, you know, this part. So we haven't even had a chance to look into it, or what the boxing heads and historians are saying. But I want to know, what does it mean? I mean, like I said, you haven't had a chance to research anyway. And we have nothing to compare it against.
No, I literally read it a couple hours before we started here. So yeah, I don't know. So the comments are so egregious to me that there's something wrong, because there's just, what would motivate you to say the things that he said? And it was, I don't want to justify the comments and I won't repeat them because they're not in my vocabulary, but at the end of the day, he just made the comments were just really off the wall, and there's definitely a problem. But he's alienated himself from a lot of people right now, and he's got a lot of work to do. And it's who knows, this could be career threatening if it really could.
Yes, absolutely. And here's my thing. You might tell a joke. Say you tell a dirty joke, right? It's a dirty joke, and it's just a man and woman, a sexual dirty joke. You could tell it at the wrong time, where the missus or your coworker's like, Drew, what the hell are you doing, man? What are you doing? But maybe you thought some people might laugh. You didn't realize how dirty it was. Or you play an old Andrew Dice Clay joke at a house. You don't know. It could go either way. But who or how did he read? He typed this quote and think to hit send and think everybody's gonna be like, yeah, you're great. That's okay. That I don't get. There's no line, or there's no possibly, could be, maybe, should have. You know what I mean?
It wasn't a single quote. There's multiple.
Yes, but how do you even, you tell a dirty joke, maybe you laugh, I laugh, maybe our wives don't. Okay, we need to read the room. But one of us say that tweet and say that nobody agrees with, nobody's laughing, nobody's agreeing. I just don't get that, man. Everybody knows that's wrong. That's wrong. So I don't know, man. I feel for the young man. I really do, because now I believe that we thought it was maybe an act before we knew he had the PEDs and all this, whatever have you. But he's really, I think he's really dealing with mental issues, man. I'm not even going to joke about it. I really think that he is. Seriously.
I admire your response because, I mean, I don't know if I'd have to kind of in the deal. I'll be honest. I mean, just being honest, I'm a human. I don't know if I could take that per se. Not that it was directed at me per se, but you know, I'm like,
here's the thing. I grew up in an all-white neighborhood. Okay, I literally grew up in an all-white neighborhood. The high school that I graduated from had over 500 students. There were only 4 African Americans. We were all male and all cousins. So the area I grew up in, I used to get called racial slurs. And of course, I was always ready to fight. And I had my parents, God bless, I'm blessed to still have both my parents. I truly have the yin and yang in parents. My dad was always taught us work ethic. My dad was, you stand something, you better stand on it and represent it. And if we ever got into a fight, first question was, you better not have started. So we couldn't be bullies. My mom, on the other hand, was treat people the way you want to be treated. If somebody is mean to you, they may just be having a bad day, so you don't always have to take it out on them. So they wanted to balance and counter. Now, I'll be honest with you. Everybody knows, my mother knows she's an angel because I'm not that guy. I don't care what kind of day you had. You don't get to talk to me, however. You know what I mean? There's going to be repercussions for it. So to hear racial slurs and get called names, that doesn't bother me too bad. Now that I'm also older, you know what I mean? Where on the same token is, I'm with the mindset, you can say whatever you want from that side of the room. Don't touch me and don't get in my, if I can't do this, I need this much space. If I can, then we got an issue. You know what I mean? So that's why it's gotten to the point where now, you know, and we're from the age, man, you'll go back to Crunk, Jam, and we'll mention, we're from the age of if 2 guys had an issue, all right, you say one way, I say that, let's go behind the shed and see who wins.
Yep.
Now guys want to talk big stuff. Now they want to bring out guns and whatever. So we're in a different world, but he's just I don't even want to call him an idiot. He's dealing with something, man. He really is. He knows the social status he has, and he knew what he was doing. He knew, and that's where he knew what he was doing. He knew it was affecting his money. You're already suspended, and you're still going to tweet multiple. That's not the work of a sane man, Drew. It's just not.
It really isn't.
You know, so I'm just throwing our prayers for the young man, and I hope he gets it worked out, man. Because regardless of how he is a talent boxer. I don't care which, he's a talent.
He is.
But he's dealing with something, and now he's got family. His family will have to deal with the ramifications.
They've already spoken out and they've renounced what he said.
Yes, and
pretty emphatically, which is the right thing to do. I think their statement was solid.
Yes, but you're still going to get some young goon brothers that don't care about you, don't want anything to say. You're guilty by association, so you don't know what they're going to have to deal with. So, and that's just what, I don't know, man. I don't know. I just hope the young man gets it together, brother.
Appreciate that, and that's a good way to close this one out, man. Chops, always a pleasure talking boxing with you.
You know how it is, man. I'm looking forward to every time we talk boxing. We got some good ones next month too, man, so I'm ready.
Yes, we do. Check out the Original Sports Podcast. Chops is frequently on there. That's a great show as well. They're on YouTube. Check them out. My name is Drew. For Michael Mills, Big Chops. Take care, everybody. Thanks for watching. We will talk to you soon. This has been the Sports Peninsula Podcast. To subscribe to the podcast, simply click the subscribe button on our YouTube channel's homepage and give us a like. You can also follow our audio podcast on multiple platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Google Podcasts, just to name a few. Give us a follow on Twitter. Our handle is @SportsPPodcast to check out our latest releases. Thank you again for watching and for your support. Remember, when you want to hear all about sports in the great state of Michigan, there is only one Sports Peninsula Podcast. Awesome, man. That was good.
Yeah, now I know. I don't click out.